Good morning, punters, and welcome to another episode of The Tripod. And NFL season is here, and we're starting in week 1 this year. If you joined us last year, we only started NFL, I think, around round 9, once the NRL was over. But this year, we're going to start round 1. And look, we've got a few best bets for you guys this round for week 1, but generally we are going to be a little bit more selective with our NFL plays this year. We were a little bit more selective on NRL, and we're up over 60% win rate this season. And NFL, it's just a little bit tougher to win on the lines in the NFL. They are generally a lot sharper. There's a lot more money being bet into the pool. You have a lot more professionals betting over in Vegas, so the lines are generally sharper in the NFL. So edges are harder to come by, but you're going to be watching it, and we do win more than we lose on the NFL. And look, if you've followed us for our NRL tips, for a number of years, and you're thinking, oh, should I get into the NFL? Just watch a few games. If you have, Red Zone, watch some Red Zone. It's the most fun, 7 hours that you're going to have. It's a really good sport to follow, and we're going to be betting on it this season. So you may as well get into it. Look, a little bit differently, we're going to work it this year. Last year, you would have noticed me and Jacob would be on the preview pods for the NFL, going back and forth on all the 16 games. But it's a fucking lot of games to get through. There's 32 teams in the NFL. Every team, it's a lot of games to get through. So we figured this year we're going to do it a little bit differently. It's going to be shorter, sharper. One of us will get the best bets out to you guys every week. And we're really only going to discuss the games that we're betting on and possibly some marquee games, the Sunday night game and the Monday night game, every week. So you guys can at least get our thoughts on that. But otherwise, too many games to get through, and you probably don't want to hear our thoughts on like 14 games if we only have plays on 2 of them, So that's how it's going to work this season. And just a reminder to you guys, you will notice that in a lot of our best bets this week, we've got +3, -3, those sorts of things. If you don't quite know the important key numbers for the NFL, I do encourage you to watch a video that I did last year, I believe it was, on key numbers in the NFL. They're very important to know. Obviously, 3 is the most key number, and then 7 is the second most key number, but that's probably a good 10-minute video to watch. I might link it in the description of this video so that you can watch it if you get a chance before the games on Monday morning Australian time, because it is handy to know what the important numbers in the NFL are. And honestly, the number 3 in NFL is the most important, arguably, number in sports betting in all of sports. So with that being said, let's get to it. Actually, one more thing that I'll probably mention before we get started. Our good friend Nettie is an absolute NFL genius. The guy follows every game religiously, and he's very, very knowledgeable about the NFL. So he's also going to be doing his Nettie Given Sunday podcast. They're going to be on our page on Sunday night, or on Sunday sometime, so tomorrow. But if you want to get his tips the second they come out, make sure you follow Nettie, that's Neddy, in the Tripod app. He posts all his bets on there, and that way you'll get a push notification every time he posts. So follow him, and obviously if you download the app, you'll get the notifications when we post as well. But let's get started, guys. Let's start off with the Bears, the Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions. This is an interesting one because, a lot of people have picked the Lions as like a smoky team this year. They had a bad season last year. Stafford was injured, and a lot of people are kind of picking Matt Stafford as like comeback player of the year this season. And, for good reason. They've got a good core of receivers there at Detroit, and Stafford can air the shit out of the ball. But look, the Lions' best receiver is Kenny Golladay. He's got a hamstring injury at the moment and is doubtful for this game. So even if he does play, which seems unlikely, he's not going to be at 100%. In terms of the Bears, everyone fucking hates the Bears. It seems like a team that no one wants to bet on. They've named Trubisky as the start. Everyone fucking hates him. So I guarantee that every public punter out there is saying, oh my God, Mitch Trubisky, there's not a chance that I want to get on him. I think this is built into the line. I think we have, once again, we should mention that this year in the NFL, no crowds in the game, so you have to kind of adjust your home field advantage. Generally, you say 2.5 points to 3 points. That's not the case anymore. Another reason that we do like the Bears in this one is, a lot's been said about Mitch Trubisky not being able to make, plays, not being able to think by himself and make plays on the run, and he does a lot better when he's got those scripted plays. So generally, in the first quarter, he does a lot better than for the rest of the game. This is a game where they've had all off-season to prepare for. They're going to have every scripted play ready to go for this one. So I do think that the Bears show up, and we're catching the key number of 3 here. So we are taking a best bet with the Bears plus 3. You'll find that one at $1.80 on Unibet. Let's move on to the Green Bay Packers at the Minnesota Vikings. The Packers are catching 3 points. I'm not putting the totals up for this one because, if we've got a best bet on the total, I'll throw it up there. But otherwise, the line is pretty much all you need to know for this one. A lot of people don't really like Green Bay this year. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, once again, another year older, and people have made a lot about this Green Bay receiving core. Obviously, they've got one of the best receivers in the league in Devontae Adams, but, Rodgers didn't quite connect with some of those other guys last year, Valdez-Scantling, Alan Lazard, the Lizard King. But from everything that you hear out of Packers camp this offseason, he's forming a bit of a connection with Alan Lazard. I think that's going to be good. I think they've got an extra year under their belt. And really, how much are we expecting Aaron Rodgers to regress here? And it's the start of the season. Yes, maybe his body will fail him coming down the stretch. But for the start of the season, I do think this Packers side is arguably, just as good as this Vikings side. And you're catching plus 3, which is a very key number here. Plus, no one's talking about, well, people are talking about, obviously, but this Vikings team lost Stephon Diggs. They traded him away. He's gone to Buffalo. So the receiving core is not as great anymore for this Vikings side. I think the Packers have a chance to win this game outright, and we're catching the key number of 3. So the best bet for this one is the Packers plus 3 points. You can find that one at $1.82 on Unibet. This is an absolute cracker, and this is game of the first of week 1 of the NFL. It's the Tampa Bay Bucks at the New Orleans Saints. And, if you follow NFL in the slightest, you would have realized that the big offseason news is that Tom Brady has gone to the Tampa Bay Bucks. He's linking up with Gronk. Gronk's come out of retirement to play for the Bucks this season, and a lot of hype on this Bucks team. As soon as that trade was done, or as soon as Tom Brady announced that he was going to the Bucks, their odds dropped significantly for the Super Bowl. Obviously, last year they had Jameis Winston in there, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, something like that. So they just figured, Tom Brady, this is arguably the best set of receivers that he's had for a while, definitely. You've got Mike Evans there, you've got Chris Godwin. But in saying that, Mike Evans now doubtful for week 1, so, probably not going to be able to go in this one. And are we forgetting that, for not the majority, but for a number of weeks last season, the Saints were the pick for the Super Bowl. They were the best team in the league, arguably, for a long, long time. And just because they've faltered in the playoffs 2 years in a row, this is pretty much the same team we've got here. You've got, arguably the best receiver in Michael Thomas. You've got Drew Brees, who, once again, kind of like Brady, may regress as the season goes on. But week 1, I still trust him to be very, very solid. Saints generally strong home field advantage. Obviously, there's no crowds, but now you have, you're playing in the dome. This Saints side, elite defense. I know we talk about the Bucks defense from last year that they could, they were stopping the run very well, but the Saints team is completely legit. I think there's a little bit too much hype on this Bucks team with Tom Brady joining them. And, when you have a lot of changes in terms of Gronk coming in, Tom Brady coming in with a disrupted preseason, I think I want to trust the Saints in this one that's kept their core group of guys together to be able to get the win and cover the 3 points here. So the best bet for this one, we're taking the Saints laying the 3 points. You'll find that one at $1.82 on Unibet. Let's move on to what should be another cracker. It's the Cowboys at the Rams. The Cowboys are catching 3 points. The Cowboys are laying 3 points at the LA Rams. Now, Rams got the new stadium and everything, and they're still catching 3 points. So people are down on the Rams, and I guess so they should be if you're an average punter. They had a horrific season last year. Couple that with a bunch of injuries to their wide receivers. So last year wasn't a very good year for this Rams side. Super Bowl hangover, call it what you will, but I do think they'll be, that they're still a very good team, still a very good defense. And this Cowboys side, once again, it's very similar to going against Tampa in the previous game. I think there's a lot of hype on this Cowboys team. Everything that you listen to, they've got the Cowboys having a massive year, Dak Prescott having a massive year, and to be fair, it is, relatively the same team that they're trotting out from last year. But in saying that, are the Cowboys really, 4 or 5 points better than the Rams power rated? I think this is a sharps versus squares game. I can guarantee you that most of the public money will be on the Cowboys in this one, and I just love taking from a betting perspective a team that is, a lot of people are down on this season, which I think is the Rams, given how bad they were last year, against a team that everyone is arguably too high on in the Cowboys. So I think this is a sharps versus squares game. We'll be on the sharp side, which is the Rams catching the 3 points at home. You'll find that one at $1.85 on Unibet. And those are the 4 best bets for the week. But let's talk about the Monday night games. We've got a couple of good ones here. It's the Steelers at the Giants. The Steelers laying 6 points at the New York Giants. Seems like a high line for week 1. And I guess the main thing here is the reason why we don't have the best bet. It's so tough to bet on the Steelers side week 1 because you just don't know what you're going to get out of Big Ben. I mean, and can you all even call him Big Ben anymore? The guy has shed a shitload of weight. Whether that's going to be good or bad, I'm not quite sure. Obviously, in previous years, Big Ben has been not a robot, but the guy will get a twisted ankle and be back the very next week. So it's very tough to see how he's going to be straight out of the gates week 1. So that's why I'm wary about, playing the Steelers week 1. I just don't quite know what I'm going to get out of Big Ben. Is he going to be the same? Because if so, they could blow this Giants team out. And, given that the Steelers still have an elite defense, the Giants, unfortunately, do not. But I wouldn't lay the 6 with the Steelers quite yet. First of all, the Giants are at home. Danny Dimes has another year under his belt. And honestly, the Giants had a bad year last year, but you can attribute that to a few things. Obviously, Eli Manning was there, still looking over Danny Dimes' shoulders. Now he's got the team to himself. He knows that he's the guy now. He's going to be improved from last year. And this Giants side has some legit receivers. So I could see them hanging with the Steelers in this one. But at the same time, the line at 6 probably seems about right. And the final game of the round is the Monday late night game. It's the Titans at the Broncos. And the Titans are laying 3 points in this one. There's reasons, I think, to take both sides. I would probably lean towards the Broncos a little bit in this one. The Titans are legit. We saw what they did last year in the playoffs. Derrick Henry just got absolutely run into the ground. And why not? The guy had a shitload of carries all playoffs long, but no one could fucking tackle him. And by the second half, the defense is absolutely gassed because he's an absolute monster. Now, people are worried, and I think rightly so, that will that catch up to this Tennessee Titans team this year? Just having Derrick Henry being run into the ground in the playoffs. Look, I think it probably will, but not week 1. I think his body might break down a little bit later on in the season, especially if they keep using him as they did in the playoffs. They probably won't, because we saw Tannehill's actually a decent quarterback, so they're not going to have to just rely on Derrick Henry this year. But in saying that, you don't want to take the Titans. You're laying 3 points in Denver. And I know that home field advantage doesn't mean as much with no crowds in the NFL, but if I were to pick a team that had the strongest home field advantage in round 1 with no crowds, I would take Denver. It's they always say it's a trend. You want to play the Broncos early in the season because the altitude, it's so high up there. People get gassed if they're not used to it, and that's what we have here in the Broncos. I mean, you've still got a decent side. Drew Locks will be improved this season. But so although my lean would be towards the Broncos catching the 3 points at home in week 1, you've had an emotional blow, I guess, as well with losing Von Miller, one of your best defensive guys for the season. So that's why it's kind of tough to take the Broncos in this one as well. But My lean would be to the Broncos catching the 3 points at home in altitude week 1, but I got to respect Tennessee that they are completely legit side now. And that's it. I told you to be quick, guys. So, I mean, what have we got? Like 10, 15 minutes. Every week, every Saturday morning, we'll be pumping these out. We'll have a few best bets. As I said, we'll probably be a little bit more selective. If you want additional best bets, like I said, follow Netty Given Sunday. That'll be posted on our page on Sunday. And that'll wrap it for week 1, guys, of the NFL. Enjoy it. If you've never watched the NFL before, please give it a chance. Watch a few weeks of it. You will enjoy it. I guarantee it. But once again, guys, thank you for tuning in to our week 1 NFL preview. And we will see you once again Sunday night to recap the NRL round 18. Catch you then.